What's up, everybody? How's it going? Looks like my mic is actually working today. Um, Started on time despite our help desk system going down. We had an issue with the DNS server that our virtual box was using. I figured you guys want to see Remo. Hi. I woke him up. I probably should have let him sit. But we'll be 11 weeks tomorrow, and we're already 20 pounds. Look at that. Yeah, we're very whiny too. Can I help you? Look at those ears, though. All right. Well, there's our puppy. I'm gonna put him down. He wants to go back to sleep. Yeah, he's like, put me down, Dad. I was sleeping. He's so whiny. All right. There. Oh. He's already figured out how to get up on the couch. Look at those ears. Look at the ears. Look at the big ears. They're so big. Yeah. You guys won't be able to see him that much because he likes sitting on that side of the couch. But I actually have him tethered with his leash to the futon. So anyways, I will give you guys some company updates. I don't really have any tangents to go off on about different things because everything's kind of been on hold in terms of new stuff. So if you guys remember, we had a guy named Aaron working for us as like our general manager position. He ended up taking another job with a construction company here in the area. So he is no longer working for TH3D. We have a new guy starting on the 17th. So, but right now we're not doing any print farm requests because I don't have time myself to process those. And Aaron was the one that would process those. We are still hiring for shop technicians. So if you're in the area and you want a entry-level job, we do have what are called level 2 positions. So it's not like a manager role. It's more of a kind of shop gopher that helps us process stuff with some inventory aspects of keeping an eye on stuff like that. I just realized that forgot to stop my I've been using my 3090 to mine some coins, and I forgot to shut it off before I started the stream. So that's why it was kind of lagging there for a second. I just realized that. But anyways, so yeah, I wish him the best of luck on his new position. So we've moved all that stuff over, so you'll be dealing with me, but until I can get the new guy all up and running, we won't be doing any print farm requests, and any sort of like firmware development and stuff's going to be on the back burner for now. Why am I still dropping frames? Let me figure out what's going on here. Maybe it's, hang on. Might be my camera system messing with it. All right, we should be, are we nice and smooth? I think we're nice and smooth. Anyways, so yeah, just print farm requests are on hold right now. I did get contact information from my brother Doug. He might be in the chat, but if anybody does message us, we're referring them to Doug, aka Mr. Top Hat Waffle in here. So he does have a small print farm, and we get a few requests, so I've been forwarding people on to him. He's actually based out of Illinois and is all set up to ship and everything because he has his own little Etsy shop and stuff. So he'll be in good hands if you get referred to him. If you guys want to check out Doug's site, it's tophatwaffle.com with 2 T's. I'm gonna give him a little plug here. Let's see. Let's get his site up here. Actually, I forgot. He's got a domain name. THW3D is his 3D printing one. So if you guys need stuff printed, till we're back up and running, go ahead and hit Doug up. I'm going to give him a little shout out here, and you can send him. He's got a little contact form, and he's all fancy and stuff. He's got like all these renders and whatnot. But yeah, so he does ABS, PETG, PLA, all that stuff. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at. Like I said, we are hiring for shop technician positions. So if you're in the area, those positions start at 15. They go all the way up to 18 and even 20, depending on the experience. So we got the shop technician level 2 position, and I'm thinking about adding on a print farm technician or maybe we'll call it like additive manufacturing technician or something. That sounds fancier. It seems to be what people on LinkedIn like to put it, because you say 3D printing, it doesn't sound as fancy as additive manufacturing. So, but anyways, if you're looking for a job and you're in the area, you're near us, let me know. There's a link at the top of our site that says jobs. You can click that and see any open positions. So we don't have any remote positions. We do have some remote jobs, but none of those positions are open. They're all filled. So let's get into the chat here. I just realized I did not fill my water up, which means I can't mix my maw. I did have coffee, but we'll see. We'll see if we can power through this. I'm going to cut this stream a little bit short today, just because I got so much stuff to do with Aaron being no longer on the team. It's a lot of stuff's falling on myself and Samantha. So anyways, the last thing I do want to mention is that if you place an order with a large flex plate, those are what we call flat packed. So and Samantha and myself do not have the proper process documented for flat packing. Danielle is the one who does that for us. So what was I going to say? There's only there's 6 orders for that. But basically those will get shipped out tomorrow because Danielle is out. Today's her last day of vacation. So if you did order like a big flex plate, like a 508 or basically anything bigger than like 310, those get what we call flat packed. So, and those are a little more complicated, and she's the one that handles that stuff. So anyways, oh yeah, thanks for reminding me about the giveaway form. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. March 2020 giveaway stream. Let's see here. All right, there we go. It's on. So anyways, let me go ahead and plug that in there. Is that going to work? Yes, it's going to work. Awesome. So anyways, let's get into the questions. Let's see. All right, so where's the first question here? Let's see. Superconductor. He says, will the Creality 12864 LCD screen work with my Ender 3 V2 running Clipper firmware? That would be a question you should post on wherever Clipper does their support. I mean, it's open source. I'm not sure. I would say if it'll run on an Ender 3 with the new 32-bit board with that screen, then it should be the same. Basically, when you convert an Ender 3 to the 12864 LCD screen, you're going to treat it like or when you convert the Ender 3 V2 to the 12864 LCD screen, you basically treat it firmware-wise as an Ender 3 at that point. So if the 422/427 board, those Ender 3 V2s ship with the 422 board, if those are supported in Clipper, then yes, it should. But again, I don't use Clipper. It's more trouble than it's worth, in my opinion, when Marlin does everything I need it to do. So, but I mean, if they have a config for the 422 board, for an Ender 3, then just load that up and see if that works, because if it works with the Ender 3 with the 422 board, it should work with the Ender 3 V2 with the 422 board plus the 12864 LCD. Oh, thank you. Someone's watching me and creeping on my streams. I appreciate it. Ha ha ha. The wife brought me water. I am running on like 3 hours of sleep right now, so every little bit helps. You guys need to post some questions in chat. You guys are awful quiet, and this is one of the few days that I don't actually have stuff to talk about, just because I've been wrapped up in a bunch of other stuff. We still haven't got any like solid leads on any more LPC chips. So if you guys are waiting on easy boards, we don't have anything. We're basically dealing with the same kind of supply chain issue that the automotive manufacturers are currently, because if you guys have been following the news, you'll be seeing that there's like production issues where they're shutting down complete car production assembly lines because they're having issues getting the silicon, and we're seeing a lot of shortages with that. And I even talked to one of the Big Tree Tech engineers on WeChat, and I chat with him on and off, just kind of talk shop, and I pinged him. I was like, hey, are you guys having an issue too? And they're like, yeah, we can't find chips anywhere. So I'm assuming their supply of their boards are going to start drying up too, that use those processors. And he also pinged me the other day that the STM32 processors, like what Creality uses, what they use, what a bunch of other board manufacturers use, they're all drying up with supply. So to give you guys an idea, like for an LPC 1769 in quantities of 1,000 or more, we can usually expect to pay $10 to $12 per processor. The suppliers that we are able to find the chips from that are actual genuine chips, because there are copies out there. We don't want to use the copies. They're charging a minimum of $44 a chip, which at that point, that's going to push our cost way too far up. So it's not even worth us trying to get them made at that price point. So we're just going to have to wait. Until the price comes down and there's supply again. So it sucks, but this is the reality of the situation we're dealing with. So hopefully, like we do have the MKS S-Gen LV2 boards on the way in, which just reminded me that I want to follow up with my MKS rep and see if he has tracking for me. I'll have to message him and see. But we placed an order for that a little while ago, and I paid it. Yeah, I did. I did pay. When did I pay him? That was on the 3rd. So we'll see. They're usually pretty quick. Hopefully they had some made and had stock sitting before all this shortage crap happened, because I'd like to have some boards for you guys, because we're also out of stock on the 427 boards, and I can't get those either. So yeah, it's rough right now, but you know, it is what it is. There's literally nothing we can do. Let's see, we got some questions here right now. Armel said, purchase MKS S-Gen LV2 comes in this weekend. I know you have a help center right up on the board in your firmware. I'm going to put on my Sierra 10 S5. Do you think there's too much heat to mount it under the printer? It has a Kinovo bed. Do you think it'd be a better idea to mount it on the frame? I'm assuming you mean under the bed, like on the frame itself. You can't mount a board to the bed. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be a good idea. It'd be a lot of work. But I think it'd be fine. As long as you're not enclosing it, you should be fine. What I would recommend doing too is picking up, if you want to really keep that heat in there, pick up some pipe wrap insulation. I have, what is the name? I bought this stuff. It's good up to like 150 C. I used it on Bertha, the bottom of Bertha, and I got it from Menards. It's like a 2-inch wide strip, and it's foam. So you have adhesive, like, I don't know, an 1/8 inch of foam, and then a aluminum foil stuck to the foam. I would put that under there just to keep the heat in, because you're going to make it more efficient. So instead of the heat just going and radiating out the bottom, it helps keep it in. I like using that on my printers. I did that on Bertha when I redid the bed. Yeah, I think Thermo King was the thing, but if you know what I mean, just check the ratings, because some of the pipe wrap is only rated up to like 60 C or 70 C, which is useless on a printer, especially if you're on a Kinovo. But there are some that are rated very high. So as long as you get one that's rated Frost King, that's it. Someone said Vape to Live 38, Frost King. Yes, Frost King is the one. I've been using that on my printers for years. It works great. And there's some people like, oh, it's going to not work. No, it definitely works, and it's very affordable. So I highly recommend doing it. So if your printer doesn't have insulation on the bottom, throw that stuff on there. You're going to make it more efficient. It's not going to hurt anything. But what it's going to do is keep the heat on the bed instead of it just going out into the room. So you could actually save energy, because the bed isn't losing as much heat through that huge surface area on the bottom. It's kind of keeping it tucked in there. So highly recommend doing that to any printer. Just make sure if you're using the stuff with the foil back that you keep it away from any power wires. What I did on Bertha was, it's got, you know, those pads where the wires connect going to the power. I put a layer of Kapton tape over that, and then I put the insulation over that. Kapton tape is a really good insulator. You could use high temp electrical tape in a pinch too as well, but you just got to keep in mind, use common sense to keep the electrical connections away from the foil, because foil will conduct electricity, especially when you're using an AC bed. So let's see. The next question was from Sean Youth. He said, "Is not sure if this is a stupid question. Is it a bad idea to use more than just the 2 eccentric nuts for the Z wheels? Could I also use eccentric nuts on the outside V wheels?" I mean, you could, but it's not really needed. Adding eccentrics is actually pretty easy. You just get the eccentric nuts, make sure the height of them is the same as the spacers. Now, you need to make sure the height is the same as the spacers that you're replacing, but you also got to remember to keep into account that part of that eccentric nut is going to go into the plate, so you're going to lose some height. So you want to make sure the height, I don't know if I have one in my drawer. Let me see. Okay, so I do have something here. This is a Creality X carriage. So this has an eccentric nut. So what I'm talking about is you've got the eccentric nut, and it actually sits in a recess on the carriage. Okay, so what you want to make sure is the length between where it's going to sit on the plate and between the wheel is the same as the other eccentric nuts or your spacers that you're replacing. So the distance of the spacer should be the same distance as the actual portion of the nut that you see. So if you get an eccentric nut, you would just drill out the plate, okay, which is what I did on Bertha. It had no eccentric nuts on the bed. So I took a drill bit that's as close to the same size as the part that fits into here. Let me see if I can get this off easily here. All right. I'm going to show you guys here what I'm talking about. So let me take this apart so I can show you what I mean, because it's probably not making that much sense, but it'll make sense once I show this to you and get it off the carriage here. All right, let's turn on our second camera here, and we'll go over this, because this will give you guys a good idea of how these things work too if you're not familiar with them. There we go. All right. Excuse my messy workbench. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but so when you have, and I'll try to speak up so my mic picks me up. So when you have an eccentric nut, okay, you see it's got that round portion, and that goes into the carriage here, okay? So when you put that in, the distance you want to measure is the actual portion that you see, not the one that goes into here. So if you're adding an eccentric nut, you need to find the diameter of the portion of it that goes into the plate, and you drill that out. And then you want to make sure that the height of the nut matches the spacers, if there are any spacers already on there that you're going to keep. Now, if you're replacing the spacers, then you want to make sure it's the same height as the existing eccentric nuts on there. So hopefully that makes sense. Does that give you guys a clearer visual on how this all works? So, and then one thing too, and Creality does this right, you want to put a washer on the other side just so things don't, just so the nut isn't riding on there. So I'll usually do this like Creality does. You'll put a washer and then you'll put your nylon lock nut on here. I really recommend using nylon lock nuts. If you don't have nylon lock nuts, then put some Loctite on there. And then just tighten it down. So basically, once you have your eccentric nut, and then you drill the hole out, you put a washer on, and you just replace the spacer. So, but most printers don't need eccentric nuts on both sides, so of the bed, anyways. Let's see here. Kenneth, when do you think when do they think the shortage will break? I have no idea. No one knows when the silicon shortage will be over. It's there. Gaxon, when will the flex plate for the Ender 5 Plus be back in stock? When we get them. Again, ETAs are all screwed up right now. Same thing with the tools. Basically, anything that's in stock, we don't really have an idea of when it's actually going to be here until I get tracking that it's actually in the U.S. And even then, we could be out, a week. Everything's still screwed up right now. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. Eward Bennett says, I have no power going to the rest of plus and minus terminals on my board. Don't know what you mean by that. Not enough information here. Tommy O, how is the Sunlight SA at your brother's? Yeah, I haven't heard him complain about it, and I know he's using it, so I would assume it's been working great. Deltree0 says, can you suggest a way to make my printed cube size more accurate and flat? Am I asking too much of my PLA on my Ender 5? I feel like I see others print cubes with more cube like cubes with an Ender 5. Slow it down. You could be printing a little too fast. Usually when you start getting like bulging on the corners, especially when you're going like this, doing a 90-degree direction change, the slower you print, the more accurate that's going to be. So there's a million different settings you can mess with, but yeah, it all comes down to tuning. You can play with your acceleration, you can play with your jerk settings, but the easiest way is to just slow down the print. Now, if you lower your jerk settings, you lower your acceleration, that's also going to slow the print down just at the firmware level instead of at the slicer level. So, Scott Lemke says, I pulled a chunk of my PAI off one of my flex plates using 3D Solutech flexible filament on it. Should I avoid flexibles on PEI in the future? Is there a trick to getting to release? So my experience with PEI and TPU is that if your Z height, your first layer height is correct, you usually don't have an issue with it. It's not like PETG where it's going to bond really hard most of the time. One thing I would recommend is checking your Z height, and then also you can try using like a release agent like, hairspray. I'm not a big fan of hairspray because it can get all over your printer if you don't take the plate off. But hairspray, PVA glue stick, or my favorite, which is always, it's right here. This stuff right here. Love this stuff. And we just got the sample bottles back in too. So if you guys want to try it out, they're only like, I think they're like $6 for the smaller ones. This is the bigger one. I'm still on this same one. This is my first bottle. I opened this probably in June of last year. So, and I use this on my machines. If this lasts me almost a year, this is going to last you guys a lot longer. So, but the main thing is, and this was with any surface, is making sure that you have enough distance between the nozzle and the bed where you're not squishing it too much. Because even if you put like hairspray down or, or vision miner or glue stick, if your nozzle's too close to the bed, it's going to basically push through whatever you put down. Yeah. So you just got to be mindful of that. If in doubt, run your first layer height a little bit higher. I find that running a 0.3 layer height, regardless of what my actual layer height, my first layer height, running 0.3, 150% width at like a 20 to 25% first layer speed, it gives you a lot more room for error with your first layer height than running, let's say, a 0.1 or 0.2. Just because you have a thicker base to start with, so if you're a little off, it's not as squished as versus trying to eyeball a 0.2 or even a 0.1 first layer height is really hard. Try it out. If you haven't tried out using a 0.3 for your first layer height, regardless of what the rest of your layers are. So like in Simplify 3D, for my 0.2 profiles, my first layer height is actually set to 150%. So 150% of 0.2 gives me a 0.3. So if you're at a 0.1, it'll be 300%. So all the slicers should have options to change what your first layer height is actually set to, and you can go from there. Let's see here. SebiV says, since Core XY uses both motors to do straight XY movements, does that mean that the stall guard sensitivity value should be equal for both motors since they cooperate? I would think they should be equal. It's assuming you have the same motors on each one. I actually have not played with stall guard on a Core XY. I'm wondering how that would work. To be completely honest, you probably have to home each axis separately, so X and then Y. I'm a big fan of just using end stops on the machines. End stops are a lot more accurate and less fiddly than stall guard. Stall guard's a neat technology, but I'm not a big fan of it. End stops cost like $1 or less. Throw an end stop on your machine. So let's see here. Tom Taylor says he insulated the underside of his bed with a 1/4-inch silicone sponge. That'll work too. You just want something on there to kind of keep the heat in. Silicone works. PetG prints without any blemishes on my prints. Well, that's good. Dan Adams said, I heard of something called aerogel insulation sheets for the bed. Have I heard of them? I have heard of aerogel. That's that like fancy space age crap. I just use the pipe wrap. It's cheap and it works. So let's see here. Mark Gibson says, I need to replace my Ender 3 screen. Pixels are gone. I don't want to change the mainboard. What's the best suggestion to replace? Just get another OEM screen. We actually carry them in our shop. We should have stock on those. Products are becoming harder and harder to find in general. Like, we've been trying to order ahead before we need stuff. We've had to increase prices on some things, but not everything yet. But in general, I am seeing higher costs on a lot of stuff that we're reordering. So, but we haven't been upping the price until we actually reorder and get the new inventory that we paid more for. But Mark, I would just go with the same screen. Just keep it simple. Let's see here. Jose is asking, how do you secure the Mini Easy ABL? You put it in the probe mount and then just route the cable like you would any other probe. It just goes into a probe mount. I'm not sure what you mean by secure it, but in general, the probes, you put them in the probe mount that's attached to your hot end, and then you just do the cable management. Make sure you leave like a little like kind of loop for what's the word? Loop for strain relief. And I say loop, it's kind of like a droop, but look at the Easy ABL installation guide. We literally have a picture that shows you how it should look so you don't damage the cord. So, let's see here. Kenneth Woodzika says, I know it's overkill, but would isolating the heaters, bed and head with the SSR protect the boards from heater shorts? Yeah, it would actually. You wouldn't need anything crazy on the hot end. You're only pulling like 3 to 4 amps on most hot ends, and that's at 12 volts, 24 volts is even lower. But yeah, I mean, that's basically like if you short it, it's just going to short the MOSFET, and you're replacing like, you know, a less than $20 part versus, you know, however much your new board is. So yeah, you could do that if you really wanted to. I haven't had too many issues with it, to be honest. So I only do MOSFETs on the beds. I don't ever use external MOSFETs on the hot ends. Dominic Verset was asking, will the EasyBoard work on an Ender 6? I would like to think we'd be able to get it working, but I haven't had time to test it because Aaron was out on vacation and then he quit. So I've got nothing new done with the Ender 6 or any other machines. So Jose is saying, I mean the nuts. Wait, how do you secure the... Oh, the nuts, you just tighten them down. They're plastic. You can, if you want to add a little bit of thread locker, you could. But I never. Just make sure, don't over tighten them because they are plastic. But just get them, you know, hand tight. And if you want to take a wrench and just go a little bit more, that's fine, but I just hand tight all mine. Let's see here. Dean Sean says, okay, stupid question. Can you modify Ender 3 into an industrial grade printer with lower tolerances and high accuracy? If we put linear rails, feedback stepper, better drivers, just buy an industrial printer at that point. I mean, you probably could, but it's if I was looking for something with insane tolerances, you know, for doing crazy stuff that needs it, I would just buy a machine that's built for it. I wouldn't waste your time with the Ender 3. I love the Ender 3, but if you're, you know, your average accuracy on most FDM machines that we're dealing with, like, you know, the Ender 3s, the CR10s, that kind of stuff, you know, you can expect like 0.1 or less on the X and Y. Z is almost bang on. So, yeah, Superconductor's asking, do I still like the Ender 6? We'll be selling upgrades for it. I haven't had a chance to use it enough, but yes, we are still doing upgrades for it. I just only have so much time in the day. So if you guys want me to have more time to do upgrades, come work for us in Hobart, Indiana here. So let me know. Let's see here. Sam Settleoff is saying, are you doing the stream tomorrow? Yes, I am going to be doing the Ender 3 Max stream tomorrow, just because that machine shouldn't take me too long to do, and it needs to get done. So yeah. Edward Bennett, okay, just when you guys are asking questions, give me as much details as you can. Like Edward's asking questions, and my board has no power to it. What board are you using? Some of them have fuses, some of them don't. Specify what board and stuff you're using, or what printer you're using, that kind of stuff. It helps get you answers. I only have as much to go on as you provide, so if you're not providing a ton of information, I'm not going to be able to provide you as much information. Adam Cadillac, Aaron quit. Yes, Aaron went to go work for a pool company in their like construction division. Yeah. So, but we got a new guy starting on Wednesday. He's actually been on the streams here before. So, let's see here. MKS Ramen Nano V3. Those, as far as I know, have like, I don't know if they're resettable fuses, but they're like SMD mounted fuses. If you're not getting any power at the terminals, oh yeah, I'm looking at this. This has a surface mount fuse. It could just be that, let's see. Hang on. I'm trying to pull up a high-res image of this. Let's see here. MKS Robin Nano V3. This should be it. Main monitor. So it could be a couple of things. These aren't going to turn on or put out any power unless they're told to turn on. Where you could do is check if you're getting power from here to these. These are always on terminals, so check and see if you have power from here to there. If you do, then those should be straight through traces. But you have these little fuses here. There's a 30 and a 15 amp surface mount fuse. Check continuity on these. The other thing is too, I'm pretty sure this jumper here is to set whether it's getting power from the little onboard 5-volt regulator here versus USB. I would assume the off position is from here, so make sure your jumper is moved over to the off position, and see if that lights up. One thing you can do, if it is on the off position and you have power continuity, you have power coming from the input terminal to these 2-pin headers, and this is on the off position, move this to the on, plug the board into USB and see if it lights up. If it does, then that means your 5-volt regulator here is bad, and it's probably just best to replace the entire board. But you can also check continuity on the fuses here. So you got a 15 amp fuse here. I'm assuming this is for most of the printer power. And then a 30, this is probably for the bed. So check with a multimeter for continuity on these fuses as well. So basically, if you have power in here and it's not coming out here, check these fuses. Maybe you got a defective fuse, maybe something blew. That's really what I would do to start with in terms of troubleshooting on that. So Let's see here. I am going to wrap this up in a second. It's already been 30 minutes. Like I said, I would love to do an hour, but I've just got a lot of stuff on my plate since Aaron is out. So I'm gonna answer. I think there's I'm gonna answer these last two questions here and see, or quick stuff. People that actually provided a ton of information. Let's see. Elliot says, I put an Easy Mat on the bottom of my smooth flex plate. Since I'm not be able to get Prince to stick to the Easy Mat really well, does the Easy Mat absorb more heat? No, it shouldn't. Once you let it sit there, try preheating it. It should get up to temp just fine. You could try upping the print temp. I don't know if you have like a thermal camera or one of those IR ones, like these guys. This is what I use for checking temperatures here. So you can point it at stuff and then you get temperatures just like that. So I'm apparently 33.7 C. Check and see what the temp is. It is plastic, so it could affect the transfer, but at some point after it's been on the bed heated for long enough, it's all going to even out. So you could also try just upping the print temp a little bit and see. But I have a thermal camera and I have that little Fluke IR one. You can buy a little infrared like gun style temperature guns for like 30-40 bucks online, and those are fine for just casual use, but double check it and see. I haven't noticed any issue. I print ABS on a dual-sided plate in my machine back there. Sometimes I use the PEI, sometimes use the Easy Mat. I haven't had any issues with it. So but let's see here. Casimir says, I have an Ender 3. I want to put the wires of the main board fan into the same terminal block as the hot end fan. Is this safe to do and does it have impact on the voltage amperes? No, you can do it. And I saw someone else mention this. He said, Superconductor says, I read the Ender 3 V2 board cooling fan runs at the same level as a part cooling fan. When running low part cooling, will that damage the board? Yes, highly recommend getting the board fan off of the layer fan connector. It's really as simple as unplug it from the board, snip the wires, strip them, and put them into the main power input terminal of the printer. Sometimes like on like our boards here, you have like a terminal here that passes through, so this is always on. I believe Creality's boards have a always on pass through, but if you don't have an always on pass through, you can always just go right to the main terminal input here. So there's a lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of people having issues with the 422 boards on the Ender 3 V2 where they're overheating and losing steps. So I highly recommend you keep that fan on as long as the printer is on. So I think I have a 427. Yes, I do. And they do have it. So they do have this terminal here. So you would put it into the fan terminal here. So you can see they've got these two fan headers. They got two fan headers right here. These are both linked to the part cooling fan. You want to have that fan that cools this board down on all the time. So just literally, like, let's say this is just a blower fan I use for testing, but it has like a plug like this. Pull this out of the board, snip this off, strip the wires, and put it into the always on. Doesn't take much of your time. Doesn't cost you anything other than a few minutes. So highly recommend do that. If you have any Creality printer where that control fan only comes on with the layer fan, get it off of there because you're going to reduce the lifespan of your board, especially on the Ender 3 V2 where I am seeing a lot of people saying, and it's funny, go on the Ender 3 V2 subreddit, there's literally pictures of people pointing desk fans at the printer with like the enclosure open because the board keeps overheating and the drivers keep overheating, which also tells me that Creality is probably not using the correct copper count on those boards to cool the trinamic drivers. So that could be what's it called? That could be a rant for another thing. So, but anyways, I'm going to answer this last one here from Zan R7, and then I have to get going. I have a company to run. I'm not a full-time streamer. I don't know if I'd like to do that or not. But last one here from Xander7. He says, Ender 5 Plus stock. What are my options on custom firmware? Do I need a 32-bit board and screen? No, you don't need a 32-bit board and screen. You can, what we did with ours here, which is what a lot of people have been doing, is we have a full kit where you can just get rid of that Creality touchscreen that is like really, really painful to use. You know, if you're a very basic user and you don't want to mess with anything or don't want to, you know, have to upgrade or not be able to upgrade, I should say, because you lose a lot of settings with these touchscreens. You can just swap the LCD and use the stock board with our firmware. The Easy board is also supported with the LCD conversion and our firmware. But there's a lot of options out there if you get rid of that Creality touchscreen. So my Ender 5 Plus is running our Easy board with the LCD conversion kit. So, and you have to do, if you want to run an Easy board with the Ender 5 Plus, you have to do the LCD conversion. It's very simple. And like I said, you could run the LCD conversion kit with the stock board. You don't have to upgrade it. And if you're happy with it and you don't care about the extra noise that the stock board has, then just keep the stock board. You know, it's an 8-bit board, but honestly, they get the job done. That's really what it is. Let's see here. I'm going to just pull this up and then I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, I'd love to sit here and talk with you guys for a while, but I have too much stuff going on today. The joys of owning a company. So, but this is the LCD kit. It's like $30. You can like just get the LCD separate if you want. But this is a full kit with the printed part in ABS or PLA, the LCD, all the screws, the T-nuts, so you don't have to go around hunting for all the other little bits and bobs. And this will work with the stock screen, this will work with, or the stock board, this will work with the Easy board, and it's just a nice, simple mount, as you can see here. Damn it, my own pop-ups got me. But yeah, you can see here, it just bolts onto the front, it's clean, that's what I use on mine. And that'll wrap this up. I appreciate everybody stopped by. I'm sorry I have to cut it short. But like I said, things are a little bit out of sorts here right now. We're trying to keep everything running. And as far as support, as far as orders go, and everything's pretty much normal. Support's normal. Like I said, the only thing that got delayed today was anything that was a big flex plate. And Samantha sent everybody an email for that, letting them know that, hey, it's going to go out tomorrow when our shop technician that normally handles that stuff is back, because she wants to make sure they go out. Danielle does a very good job at making sure those flat packs get done correctly so the products don't get damaged on the way there. Because you know how much UPS and USPS like to damage stuff in transit. So anyways, appreciate you guys for stopping by. I just realized, hey, Remo, do you want a treat? I know someone's going to be like, you didn't give the dog a treat. You want a treat? I'll give it to him. Hang on. I'll come to you. Sit. Good boy. You'd think that we never feed him. So anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at, I think I scheduled for 4 p.m. We're doing the Ender 3 Max tomorrow. So anyways, hope you guys learned something. And as always, happy printing.